Hey guys, how's it going? It's your boy M.K.S here, back here with another video. I'm in a different room, partly because there's a guest downstairs, so I was thinking if my voice is not the most loud, so I thought, I don't know if you'll be able to hear me properly, so I hope you can hear me properly as ever, but I thought also a change of scenery. I thought I'd mix it up as it's a Monday. See how I did that with iterations and all that? I know, I'm mad, but anyway, I thought as it's Black History Month, or as I call it, Black History and Support and Empowerment Month, Black History Support and Empowerment Month, I thought I would talk about some ideas which I hope will empower the black community here in the UK, Britain, or whatever you want to call it, whatever the difference is, and all around the world. And I'd love to interview black people from around the world, really, from Britain and all over the world, about their experiences, whether that's in whatever field, those who work in the healthcare industry, those people's experiences of the education system, healthcare, mental health, or all sorts of different things, and all sorts of different fields in business and whatnot, and whatnot. Sorry, and it would be quite interesting to hear from black people about their experiences and whether they've experienced racism or just different experiences, and hear their story to empower them for Black History Month, as I call it. I say Black History Support and Empowerment Month, as I call it. So I hope members of the black community will enjoy these videos, hopefully appreciate them, and hopefully get involved, and hopefully I'll be able to empower them from one minority community to another. As an Anglo-Indian fellow, I hope for my fellow mutts, as I call us, my fellow mixed race people and Asians and other groups also support the black community, and hopefully in return they'll do the same in our history month or whatever, empowerment month. So anyway, I'm going to try and stop waffling for the intro, and I hope, as I say, I hope people out there enjoy it and share it with members of the Black British community and black people all around the world. I say mainly Black British because it's Black History Month here in the UK. So, but I think it's partly because of some peace deals that were also signed in Nigeria and possibly other parts of Africa. So I hope also African countries can come together. I hope to promote Pan-Africanism, black unity, and things like that. Maybe even POC, people of colour, uniting and supporting each other and forming better relations with each other. But anyway, I'll try and get into that. So here goes. So number one, I think of different fields, like black in different fields. So black in business, for instance. So I hope to support black business people, MDs, managing directors, managers, going on the alliteration thing, managers, managing directors, MDs, CEOs, chairmen, chairwomen, young entrepreneurs, and basically black people in business generally, as business people, entrepreneurs, whatever differences, and that kind of thing. I said entrepreneurs, sorry, I repeat myself there. But yeah, so in all those sorts of fields. Number two, I'd love for them to network together. So I'd love to encourage black people and support each other all around the world. So I think black leaders should treat their own people better. Like, I think less people would be risking their health and safety trying to migrate to European countries or whatever. Pastors new, as the saying goes. Pastors new, put quotation marks as it's saying. But yeah, I think less would migrate if African leaders treat each other better. And I think they should provide opportunities in tech and things like that together. So I think they should give every possible person in Africa access to PCs and training and things like that, and medical support and all sorts of things like that. So hopefully they can learn from each other, teach each other about business and different areas. I'd say I hope to encourage them to do that from one minority to another. Number three, I think it'd be cool if they could lobby together and look at how they can get the lowest possible taxes. I think there's a form of reparations. Black people in Britain and in other nations across Europe and America as well, and the Americas and outside of Africa, should be tax exempt, or at least pay the lowest amount of tax. I think there should be tax cuts, like for instance, for what happened to the Windrush generation, or even in America, what happened to I say even America, but because I'm mainly focusing on Britain for this month. But in February, I think more of like America, and but maybe they can network together and support each other all around the world and like lobby for those sorts of things. People say reparations is unpractical or it's unworkable, basically same thing I suppose, but they might say that there's no way it could work, or how would you make it work. But I think one way could be through the tax system, like black people to be exempt from tax, or certainly to pay the least amount of tax as possible, maybe even minorities generally. But I'd love to know what you think about that, and I'd love to hear from black people, like what freedom means to you and how they can network together in areas like technology and things like that, support each other. Number four, as I say, how they could support each other. I'd also love to hear from black people who work within the law. And controversially, I often say this one, a controversial thing, I don't believe that black people should join the military. I don't believe POC, people of colour generally, should join the military. Any militaries, like Western imperialistic militaries. Also with African nations, I think they should stop fighting each other and unite together and see how they can support each other and encourage each other and be proud of each other rather than fighting each other. And so with black unity and stuff like that, I think with that, if more black people joined the police and became solicitors, lawyers, barristers, judges, and whatnot, I think they'd do a lot better together, and they could support each other as a community and discourage each other from getting involved in crime and try and help each other stay on the right side of the law. But at the same time, also get justice as well. Number five, I'd love to hear from black ambition, black people's ambitions and goals. I'd love to encourage black ambition and black people to achieve their goals in all sorts of different fields. I'd say for October and possibly November, I'm hoping to focus on the black community in Britain and around the world. I'll say from one minority community to another. Number six, I'd love to see how Italians can improve their relations with black people through football, soccer, calcio, footy, whatever you want to call it. And now I know that Italian football can be a bit or very racist, unfortunately. And I think the Italian FA and the league Serie A is trying to change a lot of those things and improve a lot of those things. But unfortunately, there's at least two things I love, maybe a few others that I love change about Italian football as a fan of Italian football, to be honest, and pacifist and conscientious objector and things like that. Someone who loves peace, basically, and that kind of thing. One is the hooliganism aspect, and the second one is like the overt prejudice. Also, I'd like to help Italian football to become more attacking and things like that, but attacking in terms of football rather than defensive, obviously, but not contradicting the point I made before. But I think it'd be cool if they could improve relations with black people and the rest of the world through football. And my ideals for migration and the deal I think Italy should make with migrant and refugee agencies and the UN included, and others, charities and NGOs as well, and that kind of thing, people who deal with migration, and with African nations and the rest of the world perhaps generally, especially with African nations, migrant and refugee agencies and the UN, the EU and whatnot, is to get extra funding in return for supporting migrants. The other thing is I think they should offer a safe passage, but with me personally, I think Italy's migration policy, and I suppose most of the migrants come from African countries, some might come from Asia. I think, and I know I mentioned this a while back, but I think personally, and I don't want to impose my views on anyone else, but I think that they should give rights to anyone who comes in illegally. They should even try and give safe passage for people who come in legally, and I think there should be a priority for those with a skill or talent for football, including, dare I say, I know this is a bit off topic, but those not only from the black community, but also of Italian descent as well, so from Argentina and Brazil, maybe poach some of those to play football for Italy, so that Italy will have more people to choose from, and also those from those with a skill for football, those from countries that were colonized by Italy, and also those with an Italian connection or Italian descent. And hopefully Italy could see like how France has benefited from migration. Again, I know I mentioned this point a while back, but I'd love to see how Italy could benefit and see what France has done and what Brazil has done. Brazil is quite mixed, centuries, I suppose, or certainly a long time, and France with more recent migrants, but they benefit a lot in football. And I suppose because I have a unique angle, a unique slant, because I only support Italy for football and have a rather bias in that way. I think it'd be cool if they. I believe that migration has 100% benefit in terms of football because you have a more wider pool of people to pick from. However, I know it has other issues in society, but I think there's no room for nepotism. So I think the best players should be chosen. I don't think they should be chosen because of the colour of their skin or their background. Generally, I think it's if they got talent for football, a skill for football, both of those things, and can work together as a team and benefit the team at club and country level for Italian football. As someone who wants to see Italian football benefit in all possible ways, I think getting rid of the hooliganism problem and tackling racism and prejudice as much as possible, certainly cutting those things as much as possible, would only benefit Italian football, in my opinion. Like, there'd be less fines, less risk of punishment, things like that. And I hope Italy can build a positive football team. But I think, as I say, if they learn from France and Brazil and other nations and how they've developed through migration. But it'd be cool if they had that deal, I think, and got extra funding to build football pitches. There is something on Al Jazeera and other channels which talked about how there's a controversial boot camp for migrants, mainly from Africa, or if not solely from Africa, where it's really strict and they have to keep the rooms clean, which probably wouldn't be very good for someone like me who's a hoarder and stuff. I'm quite messy, but quite messy as part of that. But I think instead they should be encouraged to build football pitches and play football in a safe environment, and hopefully be able to benefit but also contribute from a rather biased point of view, although it is a dilemma because it is a bit of a brain drain. But I hope that from African countries, but I hope that they can have that sort of deal with African countries which look at the right sort of levels of migration. And if African countries, as I say, it is a bit of a dilemma, because I think if African countries gave people access to tech training and opportunities and things like that, they wouldn't be migrating, certainly in the numbers that they are. I think if they had more human rights, gave people more rights and freedoms and choices and whatnot, I think that would help a lot. But yeah, anyway, I think I covered that point in quite a lot of detail, but I think that covers everything for what I was thinking of that on that issue. Anyway, moving on, number 7, similar for Celtic, as I often say, but with Celtic, I know Celtic already tackles racism quite a lot and is, generally speaking, as far as I'm aware, quite anti-racist. So I hope Celtic will reap the rewards by having more black fans and more POC, generally people of colour. Number 8, I think it'd be cool if other minorities, as I say, and even allies, you have to say white allies if you like, or whatever, but non-black community people who are not from the black community supported the black community, especially my fellow mutts, mixed race people, Asians, maybe even Native Americans, Latinos, Hispanics, maybe even members of the Jewish community, but especially Asian and mixed race people, and I suppose allies as well, generally. And considering white supremacists, neo-Nazis, or the far right, as I often say, I use those terms interchangeably. I don't mean people who are just right-wing, I mean people who hate POC. They hate us on us all, so why don't we unite, is what I think. And also similar things could happen to Asia, like to the Asian community. So for instance, the Asian community could be attacked by racists and no one would help them. As the saying goes, like, first they came for the Jewish people, but I didn't help them because I wasn't Jewish. Then they came for whatever other group and I didn't help them. And then eventually when they came for my group, no one was there to help me. So I think as POC as I put it in speech marks for some reason, due to my patterns, I think we should support each other and work together. Anyone who fights hate, extremism and prejudice, which is the reason why I chose it for number 8, against hate, actually, to turn it around, because hate rhymes with hate, but I wanted to turn it on its head. I think should support members of the black community, and what happened to Windrush could happen, let's say, to the Asian community, and it would be good to have, if it did happen, heaven forbid, we would have each other's backs, maybe, and the black community might say, oh yeah, they support us, so we want to do the same. And as minorities, maybe we could lobby together and work together, help each other to get tax exemptions, for instance, and all sorts of things like that. And I also, before I move on, I just want to think, I know I covered these points in quite a bit of detail, but I just wanted to say about like clothing that says this person loves someone who's black and they make them proud every day, or things like that, positive clothing, and things like that, proud to be black, or things like that. I think would be pretty cool and interesting to see. Number 9, it'd be great if, as I say, if black people could network together, maybe even with other POC, as there are other minority groups, and things like that, and look at what they can learn from each other. Like black people who have done well in business could help their fellow black people, and black people never getting jealous of each other, but being proud of each other's achievements, hopefully. And I think that would be pretty cool. And supporting each other, like knowing what you need to set up business. Do you need a plan? How do you plan things? How do you organize things? How do you take action? How do you know when to take action? How can you take the plunge? How can you have the risk? As I talked about with the dyslexia thing, and it's also Dyslexia Awareness Month, although that's international. By networking together and maybe helping each other to invest and run businesses together, they can achieve a lot more. And I forgot to say, I knew there was something I was forgetting for point number 8. I got this mug from Miami Beach, which is also a very diverse area. But going on alliteration, I was thinking of like Minority Mondays, Miami. So that's why I used that mug. And this one, and anyway, I'll use it. I'll tell you about this one later. But anywho, so yeah, I use that as a visual sort of reminder. I often use certain mugs for my tea on different days, so like which remind me of certain things. But I hope, as I say, black people can support each other in all possible fields. And number 10 on that note, as I say, it says girl power on it, and I was thinking like of Black Girls Code, Black Girls Program, black girls running businesses, and from a young age learning about tech and all sorts of things like that. Anyway, I think I've waffled enough, but I'd love to know what you think. I was going to cover this last week. I forgot to say in the intro, I was going to cover this last week, but because I wanted to do the dyslexia thing first. I was going to do it in the opposite order, but I decided to change the order because I wanted to go through the as soon as possible, ASAP for short. I wanted to go through how my train of thought. Sorry, I wanted to go through how I wanted to set up that dyslexia group, which travels to different countries, to parts of Italy, to as much parts of Italy as possible, to Celtic, to work with the town football, to work with Celtic, and to support people from developing nations and stroke or former colonies, which often go hand in glove. Hence the hand stroke or anyway. So I was going to cover that last week, but I decided to do the dyslexia stuff. Sorry, I was going to cover this last week, but I decided to do the dyslexia stuff first and then do this week. So anyway, I hope you enjoyed it, my waffling. I'm sorry if I was a bit incoherent, but I hope my voice was clear enough, and peace and love. I am out.